Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. It means so much to me, as it is my deepest desire to share wisdom with like-minded women like you so that we can all grow and grow and grow until we are fully aligned with our worthiness and feminine power. This never ever leaves us, yeah, but sometimes we forget it's there. We just need to peel off the layers that hinder us from seeing and experiencing that feminine power and divinity, that hinder us from reconnecting to our deepest desires, our dreams, and the remembrance that we have everything we could ever need to realize those dreams right here within us. Yeah. And that's why you're here, to peel off a layer of drama, to be precise. And in this masterclass, I will talk about that layer of drama in detail and also about how you can get rid of it. At the end of this masterclass, I will briefly talk about how we can you can step into the she-wolf world if that feels right for you. I want you to know that because this is a recorded version of the masterclass. You can send me your questions via email or social media. Just send me a DM if there would be any questions. For now, grab your notebook to jot them down when they arise and to take notes because there is a lot of gold coming your way in the next hour and a half. But first, I would like to land with you in this space. Close your eyes for a second and take a few deep breaths. You can really arrive here, land here. Feel how your bottom touches the chair or the pillow you're sitting on, and wiggle a bit so that you're really comfortable, so that you're fully here, fully present, literally. Roll your shoulders up and down to the front and back. See if you can also fully be in this space mentally. Let go of everything from before this master class and everything that will come after. Be here. There's absolutely nothing you need to do in this moment. Just be here fully. And take a slow, long breath in. Relax your jaw, open your mouth, and let go. Ah. Give your back a nice stretch. Ooh. Or let your body do whatever she wants to do in this moment. Ah. And open your eyes. Welcome. Before we begin, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm Stefanie, mother of two remarkable children. I'm a wild woman who desires more than what we perceive as everyday life. And I'm the creatress of She Wolf. And as I said earlier, it is my deepest desire to share wisdom with women who also feel there is more. Yeah. That we are so much more than what we ourselves think and bring out into the world. It's my intention to help you reconnect to your deepest desires and dreams and to have you bring them into reality by remembering your tremendous strength. You are woman, a magical being of creation. And what I actually do with She Wolf is I share my own experiences, the growth processes and tools I have come across and implemented in my own life. Um, I share the keys I have discovered on my own personal journey, the keys to unlock your inner woman. And I've been doing that since 2021 by means of short and longer courses, private sessions, a podcast, and a blog. The podcast has just relaunched, so I would love it if you would give it a listen and then give it a like and share with other women or men. And since now, I also share wisdom through masterclasses. So, yeah, this is quite new to me. So please forgive me if there's a hiccup here and there. Um, uh, I've come a long way, yeah, in the field of personal development. It has left me with a lot of life experience, and with that, the persistent desire to understand myself and peel off layers so that I can get to the deepest connection with myself, the will and the commitment to come home to the sensual being that I am, all powerful, wise, creative, wild, and wonderful. From the age of 21 to 27, I lived in Indonesia. I'm 42 now, almost 43, so I had to think. So from 21 to 27, I lived in Indonesia, then returned to Belgium to become a mama for the first time. Got a degree in psychiatric nursing and then another degree in primary school teaching. Bought a house in between, worked night shifts on the side, and just kept going at the speed of lightning. Yeah, do, push, 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 go, go, go. That was my life. And I did all of that quite well. I was successful at all of it. So after getting 2 degrees, I went to work at a Waldorf school, Steiner school. And then all of a sudden, bam, I couldn't do anything anymore. Nothing. I was stuck, burnt out, or something along those lines. Living on autopilot had taken its toll, finally. It was high time to slow down and return home to myself. A few months later, the inspiration for She Wolf started flowing through me. I grew and blossomed and got intimately connected to myself, little by little, slow paced, sometimes quick, sometimes slow. Um, and then I also attracted a wonderful man with whom I had a second child, all was sunshine and rainbows for a while. But then, oh my stars, knowing that relationships mirror back to us what we keep hidden from ourselves, yeah, there came the triggers and drama after drama after drama. All the parts of me that had not been fully acknowledged or healed properly came to the surface, relational wounds, past trauma, which needed healing. It was all shown to me. And that poor, wonderful man couldn't hold me in that. He couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. I thought, what on earth is this? After all those years of doing inner work, the ground beneath my feet seemed to have vanished. And I felt like a fraction of who I was before meeting that man. But after a long journey of falling and rising and falling and rising, and a lot of tools and the keys I have gathered throughout my life processes, I gradually came back. I returned home to a newer, more mature, more beautiful version of myself. And that is an ongoing process. Yeah. Life keeps inviting me to heal the deeper layers within me. And that can be quite challenging, of course. But now I have the tools and the keys and a whole lot of more maturity to gracefully approach those challenges and navigate through them femininely. And one of the things that helped me with that was understanding the drama triangle and her sister, the empowerment dynamic. And that's why we're here today. Do you ever feel there's just too much drama in your life? Just a little bit too much drama, or maybe just drama? You will probably not like what I'm going to say next, but I'll do it anyway. Drama is actually a consequence of dealing with feelings in an immature way. I'll say that again. Drama is actually a consequence of dealing with feelings in an immature way. From the child within you, that vulnerable and hurt child within you. And it's really a trap we all fall into, often unconsciously. Yeah. The drama triangle symbolizes unhealthy relational patterns, and that by means of three roles we take on: the role of the victim, the role of the perpetrator, and the role of the savior. It's an endless tangle in which everybody blames everyone else and takes no responsibility for their own part in the cycle. Yeah, and this kind of dynamic ensures everyone to feel powerless and unable to pilot themselves or their own life, right? Not very constructive, this thing. Uh, the drama triangle was first introduced to the world by Dr. Stephen Cartman in 1968, I think it was. And it has since been used by psychologists, by therapists, teachers, corporate leaders, and so on. And through that, it has been modified somewhat, yeah, by whomever was using it. And a lot of variations have come out of that. But the essence remains the same. We all take on each role during conflict: victim, perpetrator, savior. But most of us slip into one specific role when entering the conflictual circle. In the original version of the drama triangle, Dr. Cartman used the example of Red Riding Hood, yeah, and the big bad wolf. I'm sure you're familiar with this fairy tale. In the fairy tale, Red Riding Hood initially takes on the role of the savior when she brings cookies to her grandmother. Yeah. She also gives directions to the wolf and offers her friendship. Savior. Later in the story, she slips into the role of victim. She is victimized by the wolf, through which the wolf becomes the perpetrator. Yeah. And eventually, the wolf also becomes the victim when he is caught by the hunter that catches him. The hunter in this instant is the savior when he rescues Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. Yeah. Red Riding Hood herself then steps into the role of perpetrator when she sews rocks into the wolf's belly. You see? That was one of Dr. Cartman's original examples, yeah. But in more realistic situations, the role of the victim has made it an art to show the other, the one in the role of the perpetrator or savior, how he was wronged and how they need to make that right again. Usually, that happens in a passive aggressive way. The role of the perpetrator is quite similar to the role of the victim, as it also places blame onto the other, but then in a more direct or aggressive way. You did this wrong, so you have to do this, this, and that to make up for it, so that I can be happy again. Yeah. The role of the rescuer sounds chivalrous and altruistic, but it also plays a part in this unhealthy dynamic. Remember, this is an unhealthy dynamic. Um, the one in the rescuer role is out to create codependency with the one in the victim role, unconsciously, of course. Everything here happens on an unconscious level. The role of the rescuer really sets aside his own needs and rescues the other in order to change the situation so that the other gets what he needs. But that happens at the expense of what the rescuer needs. So his needs are left unfulfilled, and that creates resentment and envy, which puts the rescuer, eventually puts the rescuer in the role of victim. You see how it moves? Okay. Now imagine this scenario. You have a partner, and after years of conflict, you decide to go see a therapist, right? To talk about the relationship. You let it all out about how bad things are with your partner, how he doesn't understand you, how he doesn't try to understand you, how he does so many things that make you both unhappy, things that cause arguments and so much stress, and, right? The therapist, he's a good one. He lets you rant, yeah, and pour out every one of your frustrations without saying a word. You keep going on about how everything is your partner's fault and how you're being pushed with your back against the wall, and that there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And it frustrates you. And then when you your face is all red and you're gasping for air, when you then eventually calm down, the therapist says, I hear you're in an unhealthy and toxic relationship. Yes, you understand me. My partner is the problem. I'll send him over to talk to you. And for you, all has been said in that moment, yeah? And you're about to pack up and go home. But the therapist says, it doesn't really matter to me what your partner does wrong, but rather why you are in a relationship that's not good for you and why you don't leave. What is it within you that makes you stay? Ah, rats. Is he really wanting me to take responsibility for my own behavior? Yep. Because you are responsible for choosing a relationship in which your partner continuously lets you down. Unconsciously, you let the vulnerable, hurt inner child within you make an important decision like that instead of the mature adult that you are. The mature adult who knows better than to repeat the same patterns over and over again. You can choose differently. For example, to move with this example, you can choose a relationship in which mutual respect and trust and maturity are the foundation, without you having the need to rant about your partner to a therapist for an hour. Because in the relationship, you consciously choose, there is room to discuss feelings and triggers and whatever it is you feel the need to talk about calmly, maturely, and non-judgmentally. The fact that you unconsciously choose unhealthy relationships time and time and time again, relationships that really don't nurture happiness, is quite frankly something that is your responsibility. It is something within you that is choosing pain over power and happiness. It shows you the vulnerable parts within you that haven't been looked at and healed properly. I know this is not so pleasant to hear. I know I didn't like it. But then I came to see that it's truth. If we can non-judgmentally and carefully and kindly look at our own most vulnerable places, yeah, our own most vulnerable pieces, that in itself will show us the way out of the drama. It will show us the way toward the empowerment dynamic, which I will get to in a moment. First, let's take a closer look at the drama triangle. Take a sip. Okay. So, like I said, the three roles in the drama triangle are victim, perpetrator, savior. In the example with the therapist, you could clearly identify someone in the role of the victim, right? You think that the things you're going through are so unfair and awful and like some sort of punishment, that you're powerless to do anything about it, that your partner has to do something about it because he or she is the cause of the problem. And you tear yourself down. There's nothing I can do. I'm not strong or capable enough to change things. My back is against the wall, and so on. The victim role typically thinks that, yeah. And the victim role also thinks that if you didn't cause the problem yourself, you're powerless to do anything about it, or that it just isn't your responsibility to change anything. You probably know the strong pull of justice, yeah? There must be justice, you know? The feeling that something is so utterly unfair. I know this feeling well. The truth is that when you adopt this mindset and wait for a savior to fix your problems, for a savior to fix how you feel, then yes, you're completely powerless, disempowered. You give away your power. In that way, you let your happiness and well being completely depend on someone else. We see this quite often, yeah, in relationships. We get stuck in the role of the victim when our partner does something wrong, real or imagined. And we think that there is nothing we can do about it until they change. Recognizable? That is the role of the victim. You do everything you can to show the other how much they have hurt you and that they need to change so that the balance in the relationship can be restored, so that the balance in you can be restored. You give away all of your power, the control over your own life, and you place full responsibility in the hands of the other person. Okay? Then the second role is the role of the perpetrator. The perpetrator also strongly feels he has been wronged, yeah? But instead of communicating that in a passive aggressive way, in which they play the poor me game, they are actually a bit more aggressive. They think you're doing it right. They think you're doing it wrong. They don't think you're doing it right or well enough. They're critical and judgmental. Um, they point the finger, you know, they step into conflict with, you did this wrong, you should make up for it. This and that needs to change. I don't have to change. You have to get your act together, and I will tell you how to do that. So the perpetrator has a tougher and more direct approach, yeah, and will reprimand the other and say what they need to do to rectify the situation. And this, of course, validates and substantiates the one in the victim role in his inferiority. Yeah. And it gives the savior even more opportunity to save. Just like the victim, the perpetrator makes his happiness depend on someone else. It won't go well or it won't be okay until the other does this and that and that and this and that in the way that they see fit. Because they know how it's done, because you do it all wrong anyway. They really depend on the transformation of the other, behavioral changes of the other. And that, again, is a very disempowering state. Again, you give away your power, even though the role of the perpetrator feels forceful and powerful in the moment. But if you depend on others to get what you want, then you're just not in a place of power. You're in a place of dependency. You let your needs and wants depend on the behavior of someone else. You see? And I'm not saying to get hyper independent and over masculinized, yeah? I'm not saying that at all, because part of the she wolf experience is to move from and in your feminine waters, yeah? To live life from your femininity. I'm saying not to let your happiness depend on someone else. I'm saying to take responsibility of your own projections and feelings and thoughts and unfulfilled desires. You have that power. There's no need to wait for someone else to come rescue you. It's not quite fair to expect that of others. You have the power to create everything you wish for yourself. You have that power. Claim it. Then the third role in the drama triangle is the role of the savior. We've mentioned the savior already. In fact, the savior is always looking for people who are struggling, people who seem broken, failed, or with deeply unfulfilled needs. They know exactly what you need. The role of the savior only feels meaningful when they can act like the hero and put their own needs aside for the other. And that might sound nice in theory, but like I said, it is the foundation of a codependent relationship, a relationship in which the one cannot live without the other. Because it is not the Savior's intention to empower the other or to really help someone in a sustainable way. They're unconscious. Yeah, it's all unconscious. Their unconscious goal is to create dependency in a relationship by convincing the other that they need them. And the role of the Savior thinks, I will be loved when I'm needed. So they're searching for people in need. people in need of rescuing. Saviors are typically people with a strong sense of responsibility, who take on too much, really, and who take over the things of someone else. In relation to the role of the persecutor, this wouldn't be good enough either. Yeah. And the role of savior could move into the role of the victim quite easily, like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think you've noticed already, the drama triangle is very, very vibrant, if you will. I'm sure you can tell, and you will be able to better recognize the dynamics of it in your own life after this masterclass. In conflict, we take on all roles at one point or another, sometimes even at the same time. It really moves constantly. When you step into conflict and you take on a certain role, the role you unconsciously feel most comfortable in, then the other is automatically pushed into one of the other two roles. And then the game begins. I have an example for you. Your partner or a friend comes to you and they're in the victim role. Yeah. I'm so hurt and I'm suffering so much from the things you've done. And you just don't take responsibility for it. And you can't see how my life is falling apart because of the choices you've made. I can't deal with this. There's nothing I can do. You've pushed me in a corner with my back against the wall, right? And that will either push you into the role of persecutor, from which you point the finger back and you say, well, actually, you've done this and that caused all of it. You caused this. You should have listened to me and acted differently. Or you take on the role of the savior, from which you set aside your own needs and wants and say, okay, I hear you. Let me rectify the situation and completely ignore what I myself need so that I can accommodate what you need and save you. This is obviously not what you say literally, yeah, but it is the unconscious system that steers your behavior. The problem with this saving is that it eventually causes resentment, right? It's quite typical for the role of the savior to live in a constant state of resentment and envy because they feel that whenever they fix someone else's problems, they should get love in return. That's their motivation, their unconscious motivation. So the savior will save someone and then almost immediately move into the victim role, all unconsciously. Again, I'll keep saying it. They feel that the unconscious silent contract you signed upon meeting has not been complied with. They expect of the other that because the savior has completely set aside his own needs, they expect the other to say, okay, now it's your turn. Now I will meet your needs. Now I will love you endlessly and unconditionally and do absolutely everything for you. But it doesn't happen like that, does it? So the role of the savior feels victimized, moves into the victim role, and in turn hopes to be saved. Endless, an endless cycle. Every time, every time you feel you won't be happy until the other changes, then you're in the drama triangle. Simple. There are no exceptions. There will always be conflict. But beware that your feelings can most certainly be valid, yeah? I don't mean to say your feelings are invalid at all. I've been there. I know these things. And it most certainly can be the case that the other isn't treating you well. Absolutely. I'm just saying that when you give away your power and don't look for a solution yourself and expect that from the other, then you're in the drama triangle. When you bring yourself into a position of taking no responsibility for your own part, when you don't show up for yourself and let your happiness depend on others, when you wait for someone to come save you, fix you, make you better, prevent you from going insane, then you're in the drama triangle. And it's not a happy place, right? It's not a fun situation for anyone involved. And it really doesn't take you anywhere. And if it were to take you somewhere, it would be with feelings of resentment, low self-esteem, or something along those lines. Yeah, it's always dysfunctional, right? Are you following me in this? What does this information do for you? Does it stir something up for you? Do you think of certain situations you're in or have been in? Behavior you recognize from yourself? Um, what is alive for you hearing this? Like I said, please send me an email or reach out to me on social media because obviously this isn't live. Um, Please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Um, okay. Oh, another sip, please. Okay. So to get out of the drama, because yes, there is a way out, you have to firstly realize you're in it. So you must go from unconscious, automatic behavior to conscious and intentional behavior. And secondly, you need to know there are better options. And we find that in the empowerment dynamic. David Emerald continued building on the drama triangle and came up with the empowerment dynamic. Also here, throughout the years, a lot of variations have been born. So if you wish to deepen into this, I invite you to keep an open mind, an open and flexible mind. Yeah. The essence remains the same in all of them, most of them. So the drama triangle shows us an unhealthy dynamic in which we project a lot of our unresolved wounds and traumas from childhood onto the other. That vulnerable, hurt inner child is calling all the shots here. In short, that means that we unconsciously hold the other responsible for the emotional pain we have suffered in our youth. Yeah. And to get out of that, you need to, instead of looking at the other, take responsibility for yourself. You don't place yourself above or below the other, but you recognize your equalness. You are okay, I am okay. Not you are okay and I'm not okay, victim role, or I am okay and you are not okay, perpetrator and savior role. And from this recognition of your equalness comes the antidote for the drama triangle. Yeah. What can help you to switch from the unhealthy dynamic to the empowerment dynamic is to not focus on the problem, but instead on how you're dealing with it. It is really choosing between focusing on the negative or getting the positive out of it. The drama triangle sister, the empowerment dynamic, is a much healthier system. The role of the victim becomes the creator. The role of the perpetrator becomes the challenger, and the savior role becomes the coach. The creator knows that he has endless possibilities, which he can call upon anytime. The creator always asks himself, even though things are shit, excuse my language, even though things are as they are right now, how painful they may be, even though someone has treated me appallingly, what options do I have to stand up straight and hold myself? So he acknowledges his vulnerability and allows his feelings, and then he moves forward. Think back to the example of the victim role in a toxic relationship and the therapist for a second. Even though this is a horrific situation you're in and your partner does terrible things to you, what is it that you can do? What options do you have? In that way, the one in the victim role is invited to step into the role of the creator and consider his options. And with this example, the options could be to end the relationship, to learn to set healthy boundaries, to improve your communication skills, to learn not how not to step into the role of savior or perpetrator so that you don't feel victimized after, or to gain more self-insight and get clarity on where the roots lay of your own behavior and insecurities. You see, quite often we don't see the options anymore because we're so stuck in this feeling of powerlessness, and we lose the connection to our power, which is always right there. It never ever leaves us. The healthy version of the perpetrator in the empowerment dynamic is the role of the challenger. When you take on the role of the perpetrator, you constantly point the finger and call out the other on what you feel he's doing wrong. Yeah. When you take on the role of the challenger, you think about what you can learn from the situation you're in, even if the other doesn't change a thing. Yeah. What can I learn from this conflict? What new skills can I learn? How can I set healthy boundaries? How can I get through this and become a better person because of this, even though the experience feels negative? What happens here is instead of asking your environment to change, you call upon yourself to change and to learn and to grow, even though the situation remains the same and is shite. Yeah. In the empowerment dynamic, there is no role of savior. There is a role of coach, of be coach. The savior role, remember, unconsciously searches for possibilities to create codependent relationships. The coach encourages himself and others to be independent. The coach allows feelings to exist, respects and honors them, and recognizes himself and others as creators. I have endless possibilities to make my own life better. And others also have endless possibilities to make their life better. Different possibilities and aspirations, of course, but endless nonetheless. Infinite opportunity. Everyone, in essence, is capable of creating a better life for themselves. Everyone. Do you see the difference here with the savior role who thinks others need me in order to be okay? The coach thinks others don't need me, and I will remind them of that if they have forgotten, so that we don't get stuck in a codependent dynamic in which everybody feels reliant on everybody else and feels uncomfortable and bitter towards one another because no one expresses himself authentically or sets loving boundaries. Let me break it to you. You cannot step out of the drama triangle when you're not self-aware. You can't. Impossible. Therefore, it takes a lot of courage and perseverance because it's not something that, yeah, okay, so I've done a masterclass on this. I'm stepping out. I'm stepping out all of the drama. No, it doesn't work like that. It's something that will keep popping up and it will keep happening. So you need to stay alert for your entire life. But of course, the more you practice with this and become more and more aware of how you move through life, it will get easier. And you will notice remarkable changes within your whole life. Listen, if there's one thing you take from this masterclass, let it be this. Stop waiting for someone else to change your life. Stop waiting for someone else to make you happy or make you whatever. Your partner, your parents, your friends, your children, your situation. When you think like that, you're right in the middle of the drama triangle, and you will remain there for your entire life in fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode. But when you realize that all the things that you're worried about might actually never change, but you can change, you can react differently. You can learn to respond instead of react. You can start looking at yourself differently, more lovingly, and show up for yourself. You can interact differently with your environment. And that way you regain access to all the beautiful things that are waiting for you. And they are so much beauty, which you can often not see because you have identified with a certain role from the drama triangle. See? Take your life back. Take it back into your own hands and trust your power, which never ever leaves you. You have control over your own life. Reclaim your power. Make your life beautiful. Choose happiness. Choose depth. Choose freedom. Choose to be free from the behavior and coping strategies that have once had the greatest purpose in your life, but they are now completely redundant, unnecessary. Free yourself. You are a mature, extraordinary woman. Reclaim that. Reclaim freedom. It's our birthright. And at She Wolf, it's one of the most important pillars to be free, free within ourselves, free from ourselves when our mind takes over too often, yeah? And you get lost in pain pieces all the time. Reconnect to your core, that divine essence in each of us, which is covered in layers of conditioning, pain, fear, shame, behavior patterns, all of that. It's my mission to guide women into revealing that beautiful core, layer by layer, so that we can, as individuals and as a community, enjoy our birthright again. That freedom to dream up the life we have always wanted for ourselves and create it. On my own journey of self finding and reclaiming my power, there were many potholes, yeah, and dents and cracks in the pavement. I have discovered some keys. I've mentioned this before. These keys I use myself to get closer to that freedom, closer to myself, to my essence, closer to joy and pleasure and love and sensuality and inner wisdom and so on. So, allow me to briefly tell you how you can integrate those keys in your life, how you can step into the she wolf world. So, the masterclass is finished. Feel free to tune out if you've had enough, if you feel full. Um, if you don't quite feel full, I invite you to stay just a little while. Okay, so there are different possibilities to step into the She Wolf world. Firstly, there's the She Wolf podcast, where you will find inspirational content. That means the world to me. I gladly share that with you on this platform. You can also find a lot of wisdom on my blog, which is on the website www.she-wolf.be. You can easily find everything on the website, by the way. There's also the possibility to work with me individually. Um, and for this, you bring your own question or struggle, or you choose one of the themes on my website under She Wolf Sessions. They go from connecting to your deepest desires, uncovering your values and standards, setting healthy boundaries, grounding, self love, self healing, womb connection, all the way to chakras, polarity, conscious parenting, mindfulness, sensuality, and so on. It's possible to book just one session, or you can choose a series of sessions. Feel into what it is you need. And then there's Wolvin. I saved the best for last. Right now, there are still some spots open for my new course, Wolvin, in which you find your way back to your incredible feminine power and the ability to create the life of your dreams by working with four pillars. The four pillars in becoming the woman you truly are, according to She Wolf. Who am I? Who do I want to be? Healing and anchoring. Who am I? Well, you discover your deepest desires, your values, your standards, what you truly find important in life. Everything becomes clear. You are reminded of your unshakable inner strength, and you learn to regulate your emotions. Then in the second pillar, you work on your self-confidence, your willpower, and your sense of self-worth. The third pillar is all about healing emotional wounds. And because women store their emotional pain in their womb and sacral area, in this pillar, we focus on reconnecting to these power centers. And you learn all about your menstrual cycle, how emotional pain is stored in the parts of us that, in essence, help us create everything we've ever dreamed of, and how we clear and heal these pains. And then the fourth pillar is essential to this process because without anchoring and integrating, nothing ever sticks. Here, you strengthen or lay down the roots that make you unshakable. You land and anchor in your own body. Yeah, so these four pillars are, to me, the basis of the path towards yourself. And so I have poured them into the first four modules of the Woven course. And to make woven even more substantial, this is very like me. To make it even more substantial and more powerful and more feminine, I have added four more modules about exploring and nurturing your body, sensuality, heart connection. And after discovering your truth in the first module, you also learn how to express and live your truth. Also, healthy boundaries are explored, connecting to your intuition, and so on. It's a very sexy and feminine course of 8 weeks that is full of easy to apply practices, live sessions, audio, video worksheets, meditations, and more than 10 hours of incredible wisdom. It really has it all. And it got some amazing feedback from the women who have already run through it, or parts of it. The English version of Woven is not a group program. I always do everything except the podcast, do everything in English and in Dutch. So this English version of Woven is not a group program, whereas the Dutch version is. The English version is one-to-one, yeah? So it's much more intimate. And yeah, unfortunately, the special masterclass pricing has expired, but I'm still offering it at the introduction price of 441, 404, again, 441 euro. So do not hesitate to enroll. You're so welcome into the She Wolf. Every woman on this beautiful planet should take this course, if you ask me. You can find a detailed description of the Woven course on she-wolf.be/woven. There. Thank you. Thank you so, so very much for being here with me today. And I hope you have found some tools to get out of something you really just don't want to be in. Do you feel you might need some extra support in this? Send me a private message on social media, or write me an email. Or if you have questions, I'm happy to read you. And then we can sort out, if desired, a short or longer trajectory tailor-made for you. Or, of course, get the Woven course at the introduction price of 441, in which you get all the tools and wisdom to become the extraordinary woman you want to be, the extraordinary woman that you are, hidden under some layers. So much love to you. I've loved having you here. Bye for now. I'll see you soon.